New to commercial real estate investing? We have got you covered. Today we are breaking down the basics of this diverse asset class. Whether it's office spaces, supermarkets or more, we'll explore the possibilities. Hi, my name is Sebastian, and on this channel we'll guide you on how to buy a house here in Germany. The asset class of commercial real estate is very broad and ranges from warehouse space to large supermarkets to office and practice space to a shop that is used, for example, as a restaurant, shop or for services. The price for investment properties in this asset class are usually lower than the prices of residential properties, so the ROI rate can be promising. This is certainly the biggest advantage when considering investing in real estate. Another advantage can be the rental income that can be planned for a long term if a long-term lease has been signed with a solvent tenant. This can theoretically be the case with all types of commercial properties, but is especially the case with supermarkets or office and practice space, for example. In the best case, you have a 15-year lease, but currently 10-year leases or leases with a term of only 5 years are more common. The term of the lease and the creditworthiness are the main factors in the valuation of the property, because you are valuating the lease rather than the property itself. If a tenant terminates the lease, it can be difficult to find a new tenant for a commercial property, because the tenant must be found for whom the property is suitable as it is. With commercial properties, however, the requirements are sometimes very specific. For example, office users usually have exact requirements for room sizes that can hardly be met in existing buildings. With housing, this restriction exists only to a limited extent, since basically just about anyone can live in any flat, so it's much easier to rent out a normal flat than to re-rent out a commercial property. If you find a tenant who wants to use the property in a different way, you have to consider a few things. For example, it is very complicated to convert a restaurant into a shop or a supermarket into another use. This applies not only to the structural implementation, but also, in particular, to the approval by the building authority. There are many issues to consider here, which you may not yet be aware of. For example, it may be that not every business is permitted at the respective location. Here, you must inform yourself before the purchase, although this can also be changed by the authorities at any time. In addition, there are requirements, for example, for fire protection, the number of parking spaces, and many other requirements that go hand in hand with the new use. This is much more difficult to implement than one might think beforehand, so you should inform yourself well beforehand. The legal aspects of commercial leases are also special, as almost anything can be freely agreed in the commercial leases. Many commercial leases stipulate, for example, that the tenant takes care of the technical equipment, but this is not necessarily the case. In any case, you should check the rental contract for commercial investment intensively, since in contrast to normal residential space, there can be numerous special regulations that can lead to your financial disadvantage. The reason for this is that the commonly known tenant law does not apply. Other clauses of the German Civil Code will apply, which grant much more freedom to the contracting parties. Of course, banks are also aware of all these issues. This leads to commercial real estate being valued differently. In particular, significantly higher risk discounts are applied in the valuation. This usually leads to a significantly higher requirement for the buyer's equity share, but also to higher interest rates, since the risk for the bank is generally higher than for a residential property. Incidentally, this also applies to commercial shares in a residential property. Often apartment buildings are offered in which a commercial business is located on the ground floor. All the above points also apply to this part, and you should not value all rents the same, but carry out a separate evaluation for the residential and commercial parts. An advantage of commercial properties is the higher depreciation, because with commercial properties you can depreciate 4% of the building value, whereas with residential properties it is only 2%. However, This is accompanied by a lower expectation of value development, since the market value is reduced as the remaining term of the lease decreases, but may increase again when a new lease is signed. In summary, I would recommend that you only look into commercial properties if you have already gained some experience with real estate investments and also know how the valuation of such properties work. In addition, you should be sure about the risk you are taking when you're buying a commercial property and talk to a financial advisor about the property requisites for the purchase, especially with regard to the equity ratio and the monthly installments. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions about real estate or personal loans. Take care and see you soon.